Portable TV. Come watch with me. All right. We have now covered for you what appears to be China going on the offensive in a kind of a tit for tat against both tech and trade and the United States. But here's the point. That's not the only thing that China is doing, which is getting a lot of eyeballs on this day. There are now some purported satellite images that seem to show that China has quietly been building as many as 100 new silos for intercontinental ballistic missiles. They've been spotted in a desert in the northwest region of China. Now, this is the type of thing that has a lot of folks all over the world scratching their heads, as you might imagine, and a lot of them are wondering what is going on. We asked as well. So here now to examine the story is veteran journalist and Boom Bust host, Ben Swann.
Well, Rick, China seems to be actively building up its nuclear capabilities in a way that we have not seen before. In fact, they are aggressively setting up what seems like more than 100 new missile silos in the western desert of that nation. Commercial satellite images obtained by researchers at the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies in Monterey, California, seem to show work underway on various sites stretching out over hundreds of square miles. In total, there appear to be around 119 nearly identical construction sites. What stands out here is that these nearly identical sites contain features that mirror those seen at existing launch facilities for China's arsenal of nuclear-tipped ballistic missiles. The researchers who first made this discovery compared satellite photos taken during the past 4 months with images captured within just the past week. Jeffrey Lewis, a Chinese nuclear weapons expert who has examined the images, says there are two things that stand out to him. One, that most of the silo construction, which has yet to be completed, has likely occurred within just the past 6 months. And two, that the pace of construction is startling considering how much has been accomplished within that 6-month period. Though researchers have identified 120 likely silos, there is no indication that they are in use. However, analysts say that the silos, placed in a grid pattern at 3-kilometer intervals, could be used to house Chinese-made DF-41 intercontinental ballistic missiles. So, Rick, what does it mean if these missile silos eventually do house those intercontinental ballistic missiles? Well, with a range of 7,400 to 9,300 miles, those missiles could technically strike the U.S. within just 30 minutes. For the news with Rick Sanchez, I'm Ben Swann.
All right, joining us now, Saurabh Gupta, who's an Asian policy specialist, also John Sitilides, who is a geopolitical strategist. My thanks to both of you. Saurabh, I think I want to start with you. You know, it's been said about China that it's much more patient than just about any country in the world, certainly more than us, because we have elections every 4 years. Is China doing now what many expected they would have done back then? And interestingly enough, they're doing it during the Biden administration, even though the ones who went really after them was the Trump administration. What gives?
I just think that they see that there's been a qualitative shift in where the United States comes down on China policy, and that this is bipartisan. Whatever productive elements were there in the relationship, a lot of them were toned down in the Trump administration. It's hard to patch that together during the Biden period, and that it is taking seriously the U.S.'s labeling of it as a national security challenge and a national security competitor in the age of great power rivalry, and doing what it feels it needs to at its end to assure its own deterrent capability.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, John. Does it seem to you that at this point, China has made a conscious decision to be more aggressive in its anti-U.S. policy?
Well, one could argue, Rick, that China has been aggressive against the United States, against the global West, for the last 8-9 years, ever since the rise of General Secretary Xi Jinping. But I think the story that you're detailing here is very interesting because it's difficult to ascertain what exactly China's intentions are if the reports are accurate that these silos have been built in the last 6 months at an accelerated pace. One, first of all, we don't know that they're actually going to be used or whether they're part of a decoy strategy, a shell game, because China has 16 silos currently that we know of for anywhere from 200 to 300 nuclear weapons. So to put 100 to 120 new silos into place is a very different type of strategy than we're accustomed to out of Beijing. And interestingly, most silos tend to be placed at least 10 to 20 kilometers apart. These are all very densely packed, about 3 kilometers apart, as your correspondent noted. And so that makes for a very easy target, a number of soft targets, if the United States or Russia were to attack China in response for any Chinese offensive operation. So we don't know what exactly China is up to here, but I think this does tie in with the July 1 CCP centenary several days ago, and General Secretary Xi Jinping very confidently asserting that China is not only a great power today, but will be the greatest power in the world in 2049. And this could be part of the longer-term process towards achieving that goal, and in the interim, sending a message to the U.S. and Japan to not become involved in any disputes between China and Taiwan. And lastly, Rick, it could just be also propaganda for the Chinese people as part of the largest celebration of the military and economic might that China has developed and was celebrating just several days ago.
You know, when it comes to nuclear warheads, I think we can almost put that aside, though it's certainly alarming when you add up the numbers. What the United States has something like 7,000 or just shy. The Russians have something like 7,000 or just shy. So even by the numbers that we're hearing that China could be adding, they're still a long way away from being any real nuclear potential, at least to the other two nuclear superpowers. So my big my antennas go up on this story when I see what's going on with the fact that we did what we did to Huawei, with which a lot of people criticized. You know, arresting the daughter of the founder of a company seemed like maybe a little bit below what we should have been doing in this country. But regardless, I'm still wondering whether that was the catalyst that's making China do what it's doing now, Saurabh.
No, I would segregate the economic elements from the geopolitical elements. There is an intertwining, I understand, and particularly in the cyber digital age, that intertwining is that much more greater. And the U.S. itself has expanded its definition of what constitutes a national security parameter by bringing in a lot of digital and economic considerations also. And this is carried over from Trump to Biden, but I would not link those two that directly. As was just pointed out, the geopolitical complexion in the Asia Pacific is changing, particularly with regard to Taiwan. Taiwan has been brought up in a number of joint statements. The Japanese, the South Koreans, the G7 ministers have brought the Taiwan issue up. The Taiwan issue gets China really, really hot under the collar, and it will do what it needs to do to ensure and display its deterrent capability to ensure that people don't get engaged in that. I would place far greater emphasis with regard to Taiwan issues than Huawei issues. But I mean, Huawei issues and digital security as well and data issues are also are really in play and have become a real big deal in U.S.-China relations.
That's fascinating. Both of our guests, both Saurabh and John, both seem to agree. It's if you want to see what motivates China, look at Taiwan, Taiwan, Taiwan. Interesting. Thank you, gentlemen. Great conversation as usual. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.